You are now listening to
the Primal Armor Podcast.
This episode is sponsored by Executive Fit LLC. They build custom deadlift platforms, custom barbell storage pieces, and make indoor and outdoor signage for your home or corporate gym. Every platform that pairs with a rack is customized to that specific rack, so everything fits nice and clean. And they ship nationwide. Each platform has a logo applied in a way that makes it impossible to peel up from wear and tear. They even make custom nameplates for your squat rack. Visit executivefitllc.com to request a quote and see what's available on their store. That's executivefitllc.com to upgrade your deadlift game today. Welcome back to episode 98 of the Primal Armor Podcast. Can you remember back to what I've been saying the last few weeks? Working out is hard, and that's because it's supposed to be. If it was easy, then it wouldn't be worth it. You have to work hard to be able to make those changes that you want and you need. And that's why this week I want to cover the topic of changing up your programming. If you also remember back to the working out while traveling episode, you'll remember how I have a rough idea of workouts in my head with the equipment that's available to me on vacation. I always try to focus on the things I never do at home in my own gym, or things that'll help me towards my goals without being the exact same workouts that I do day in and day out. And that way I'm not plateauing so often and so quickly. But why do we plateau? Why don't we make those 5, 10, 15, 20, or even 50-pound jumps like we did early and often in our lifting career? It all goes back to our genetics. The human body loves to be in homeostasis, or a steady state. It doesn't like stress in the body, and it'll do whatever it can to go back to homeostasis. If you continue to do the same workout over and over and over time, your body's going to get better and more efficient in that workout, and you won't be getting the same effect from it. Just think about how it gets easier after several weeks of programming. It's because the body's in that homeostatic state again. But that's not how we get the goals or the gains that we want. We have to be constantly switching things up and trying new things to keep our body on its toes. And most people always ask, how often should I be changing things up? I'm a huge proponent of going by feel. Once I go through 2 or so workouts in a row where a certain movement or exercise starts to feel easier than the last, that's when I decide that I need to add 5 pounds or add 1 or 2 reps. Then I'll hit that for a while, and then I'll work on doing that same exact idea with the next exercise. And once my body starts to feel beat up for a few sessions in a row, that's when I decide I need to try a different workout or a different exercise instead of just changing weights. Like, let's just say I'm hitting some heavy back squats for several weeks, and now I'm starting to feel really beat down during my sets compared to normal. That's when I change up my programming and start focusing on front squats or maybe even lunges. So I'm hitting similar muscle groups, but I'm taking the overall load off my body since I'm going to be starting at square one of that programming block versus several weeks into adding weight in the previous program. But like I said, I really like to go by feel, and it's something that's easy for me to do after years of training, but it's hard for others because like I was saying earlier, that means you're going to have to embrace the suck and not just go out and work out because it's easy for you now. To see adaptations, you must work hard for it. Like I was saying earlier, the body loves to be in a homeostatic state, so it doesn't like to be under heavy stress loads like you are in a good workout. Or if you're doing something that consistently, then your body will do whatever it can to adapt to make it easier, and that's why plateaus happen. You have to consistently change things up and make it harder to see continual progress and continual growth. And this is where so many people struggle. It's so hard to do that on your own and to yourself. And this is something where coaching is huge. But make sure you have an involved coach if you go this route. You want someone who's asking regularly how it felt so they can make changes to that program. You don't want someone who's making changes just because it's time to make them. You could be struggling hard one week, and then if they bump up the weight just because it's time and you can't finish a workout, it's doing nothing for you. There's nothing productive about that. And that's why I think all changes need to go by feel. And that's why it's so important to be consistent in the weight room, because otherwise it's going to be very hard to remember what your last session felt like and have anything to compare it to. But that's something that makes it easier to come to the gym consistently. I know if I'm doing the same program for too long, it's so hard to get myself to come back day in and day out. But when I get to try new things or start from square one so I can start seeing those gains more quickly, that's what gets me so motivated and it's so fun to watch. And that's what makes it so easy to get back into the gym. And the longer you're in the gym, the easier and easier it's going to be to go by feel. And the more and more experience you'll have to be able to make those changes on your own. If you think that you need a coach, just make sure you choose wisely and get someone who's very involved in your training program. Just remember, it's the hard work that makes it all worth it. Training should never be easy, but it should always be fun. I just want to thank you for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you back here again next week.